Hi everyone, it's Veroosh. Welcome to my channel. This is your full moon in Cancer all sign video, including astrology for everyone. Members, I've already filmed a deep dive for you guys on this full moon. It's an astrological explanation of some of the transits I'll be describing today. So after you watch this video, go over to the link in the description and you will have a whole 40-minute, I think 45-minute presentation on what's going on. So it's just a deeper explanation of some of the energies that we're dealing with here today. Today we're going to do an astrological overview, and then we will get into all the signs. And I hope you guys are well, and I hope you're enjoying this energy. This full moon in Cancer is happening on January 6th. And it is kind of a full moon that I'm seeing differently than maybe other people are, from what I can tell. I haven't heard or read too much of other people's interpretations, but I saw some blips on it being very problematic and all those kinds of things, that it's kind of a full moon that has to do with the retrogrades, which I'll explain in a minute. I have a slightly different way of seeing it, and I hope you like it, because it's in the breadth of a bunch of other transits that are happening concurrently that are actually quite hopeful, and it's kind of a nice kind of symmetry between everything. So I hope you enjoy my explanation. If you are wanting to, if you're really into the astrology and if you're really curious, I would recommend that maybe you go back and you watch a video I just posted. It's I don't remember what it's the Venus and Saturn video, and the thumbnail has Introduction to Astrology in 2023, and it's just talking about some of the energies that we're starting with. You don't have to watch that video to watch this one, but if you watch that video, then you will see it really correlates with this full moon in a deep way. So I recommend that. Also, last time I told you guys to unsubscribe and resubscribe because I've been away for a while. Well, I forgot to say something. So if you would like to see more content from me, a great way to do that is to let the algorithm know by showing your interest. And the way you do that is you can unsubscribe and resubscribe, comment and like the video, and that way the algorithm knows that you want more content from me, or that you want to see it, so it will feed that content to you. But I forgot to mention that you should turn on notifications. So turn on your notifications. I don't know if you're watching on your phone or on your computer or whatever, but turn them on. I don't know if you have to have them enabled for the app as well through your phone. So there's two ways, but you don't have to have it turned on through your app, because I don't have my notifications turned on for most apps that I have on my phone. So, but you can turn on the in-app notification. I think it's just down here, and if you turn that on, then you will get notified when I post videos. And I am back now, so you'll be seeing lots more from me, so I'm excited. Also, if you guys are interested in New Year's readings, I am booking early April now, so you will still have to wait. I will be pretty busy until then, so there's not going to be a chance that I can get to it early. But if you want your New Year's reading with me, then just sign up down below. Okay, so it's an exciting year, I think, and this full moon is a good way to start it. So I'm excited to kind of go over this with you guys. And members, I've done a very thorough explanation in the members only section, but maybe this second explanation for the collective will in some way allow for new layers to become apparent. The full moon happens on the 16th, on the 6th of January at 16 degrees of Cancer. The moon is in rulership in Cancer. It's the second decan of Cancer. That means it's the 10 to the 20th degree of Cancer. The sun is in the opposite sign of Capricorn. So these are cardinal signs, beginning of the season, the big full moon starting off the new year. Okay, and if you watched the previous video, there are some context-specific things that you may want to know about this full moon. I'm not going to explain it deeper. You can watch the video that I mentioned in the intro, the introduction. But it's important to go into understanding this full moon, considering a few things that have to do with context. Most of the planets right now in the sky are in signs that are actually referring to Saturn. So because of the planetary placements, everything except the moon, which is in its domicile, it's in rulership in Cancer, and Neptune, which is in rulership in Pisces, everything except these two transits and some of the asteroids and smaller transits, minor planets, everything else, all the other planets, and all the other, and the sun, they are actually in the nodes. They are actually in energies and in frequencies that are referring to Saturn right now. And that will continue until January 27th. So we have 3 weeks of pretty much uninterrupted Saturnian energy. And what's going to happen on the 27th is that Venus is going to enter into Pisces and going to break that. It's true that the moon is not going to be in a position that is going to be only referring to Saturn. We'll talk about that later, but it is important to kind of contextualize and see how much Saturn is influencing everything. So for those of you who are just learning astrology or who are interested, Saturn is actually the Lord of time, which is very timely given it's a new year. That's my little pun. And there have been some very significant aspects that Saturn has formed over the last few years. For today's purpose, the important aspect to focus on is a square to Uranus. This square happened 4 times, 3 times exact in 2021, and 1 time at the end of 2022 when Saturn was retrograde in Aquarius and formed a near square, about a 1-degree orb to Uranus. And this brought up, since the beginning of 2021, tension between the old ways and the new ways. And since Saturn is so dominant right now, and it is applying Uranus, it's bringing us into dealing with circumstances and reality. The environment right now is very matter of fact. There's a sense of bureaucratic process in the air. And so therefore, there's a very kind of organizational aspect to the beginning of the year, which is actually in a way good, because it's a good place to start the year to figure out what you have going on and how to take care of that. So this aspect between Uranus and Saturn has been going back and forth between focusing on moving forward with things and then thinking about the past and kind of making a balance of the two. And so right now we're focusing more on the Saturnian, okay, what do we have on hand? But you will see later today, I will explain in just a minute how Uranus plays a key role in this full moon and this energy as well. The other thing to really consider, and I'll talk about this right up front, is Chiron. So Chiron ends up influencing this chart quite a lot. And I go into this in much more detail with the members. But for everyone, just to be aware, Chiron in Aries is all about self-esteem. And so since Chiron has been in Aries, a lot of people have been confronting who they are in the world and what kind of context has left them in those circumstances. And so Chiron in Aries has led to people speaking up for themselves and looking at circumstances that they live in how they are received by other people, what kind of privileges and opportunities they have and which ones they don't. So there's been a lot of very interesting human rights progress in the last few years, in which there has been dialogue and conversation about what's fair for us and others. And so Chiron is making an influence in this chart, and it's important to kind of understand that the general context, or like the bigger picture, which is the awareness of who we are in the world and how we affect each other and how our actions affect one another, and what is the trickle down effect of all of that. Okay, so that's just for consideration. So we have, so given all of this, and Chiron, I just want to add, is the wounded healer, which usually refers to challenges that we have or weaknesses that we have, as opposed to strengths. And our strengths in Chiron come from confronting the things that are challenges and rising above them, and that's where real strength lays. So I'm not saying this is a weak point. This is a generational aspect that was influencing people who were born in the late 60s and early 70s. So if you were born in those years, it's likely that you're facing a Chiron return at this time, and so issues of identity are coming up for you, and it's doubly potent. But Jupiter here is going to be a positive on that, really helping you with that now. So if you feel overwhelmed, like it's been a bit much, Jupiter in Aries is going to help with that a lot, but we'll talk about that another time. Okay, so back to the moon. So we have this moon in Cancer, which really speaks to our emotions, our feelings. The moon is in rulership in Cancer, and it's one of the most potent positions for it's more natural, I would say. That's the best way to describe it. It is concerning itself with emotions. It's concerning itself with impressions of the world that we feel. And so the full moon is very special here. And so at this time, we have two planets that are in rulership. We have the moon, and then we have Neptune and Pisces. So both in water planets. So there's a real strong energy here of emotion, which leads us all to be very sensitive within our feelings, as people say, and really feeling from deep within our hearts. So whatever is happening around you in your life, you're probably feeling a lot and thinking a lot about the past, because that's Saturn, and then the present, and even the future with Uranus. But I'll explain that in just a minute. Okay, so there are so the second decan of, so the sign of Cancer is ruled by the moon, so we've covered that. But the second decan has two rulers. There's a traditional ruler and a modern ruler. So let's cover that. I'm just laying down the foundation for people who don't know astrology, just to understand where we're coming at this from. So we have this traditional ruler and modern ruler. I'm an astrologer who embraces anything that works. So I draw upon techniques from very different practices. If something's illogical or doesn't make sense, I don't use it. And what makes sense, I do. So usually you will see me embrace very different perspectives, and I sort of create a fusion of them in my astrology. And I think a lot of astrologers do that. So I think that that's a very normal thing to do. Okay, so traditionally, the second decan was ruled by Mercury. And so as we know, Mercury has been retrograde in Capricorn since about December 30th, and will continue to be retrograde until January 18th. Mercury retrograde has a lot to do with communication in Capricorn, probably has to do with dealings with other people, organizational things. The truth may be coming out in general for everyone in terms of where they stand with things, what's actually happening around them in the public space. And it's a time to rehash, revamp, and revisit things that we're dealing with other people, not necessarily friends, not necessarily family or loved ones, but more people in the larger sphere. And so Mercury retrograde is allowing us to do that. And as it is the ruler of the second decan, it's influencing the moon a lot. However, Mercury is in Capricorn, which is actually ruled by Saturn. Saturn's in Aquarius, and we have that Saturn overlooking all of this, the process and what's actually going on. The math is the mathing. I find I'm saying this over and over again right now. There's another aspect of Mercury to consider, and that is that the cazimi will be formed between the Sun and Mercury in a few days. I think the 9th, very close, a few days. We'll cover that in a minute. And so a cazimi is when Mercury and the Sun form a conjunction. So it's going to be just a few days from now, and technically Mercury is opposite to the moon. So this second decan ruler is actually doubling up the energy of the Sun. And so we're really taking a look at what's going on around us. We're really considering what's going on, and Saturn is giving us actually a lot of resilience. This is something I said for members. The fact it's so Saturnian is actually a boon. It's a good thing, because Saturn is influencing Chiron, where we may be feeling hurt, and it's giving us that structural, ready to face, ready to confront things, ready to sort things out and figure things out. So if you're in a complicated situation, especially involving other people, especially involving people in your sphere of influence, let's say it that way, this is a very appropriate time for you to work through things. Now, you may not have the time to face it yet, but you may become aware of what you want to do. So pay attention to what you want to do in situations right now, because it's very likely that the perspectives you are having in terms of how you want to confront the things that particularly hurt you, the moon in Cancer or Chiron in Aries that really get at your sore spot, those things, your desired response right now may be really attuned to what's your best path. So really consider this at this time. This doesn't mean that on this full moon you have to do anything, but you may become very aware of what you want to say, which is Mercury, and how you want to appropriately react, which is that Saturn overlooking that energy. The modern ruler is actually Pluto, and Pluto is going to be on the topic of conversation with everyone. So Pluto is the very interesting planet. It's a binary planet almost. It has a moon called Charon, but it doesn't actually, like the moon is almost as big as it is, so they're sort of orbiting each other. So Pluto is this very, very deep archetype of change, reversal, fortune, empire, estate, and it too is in Saturn's sign of Capricorn. So we have super Saturnian. We've been seeing nonstop governmental things. If you've seen my YouTube videos over the last year, they have been overwhelmingly concerned with politics and stuff like this. And I don't intend to throw a bunch of politics here, but that's what was really going on. That's what we needed to pay attention to. You know, what are these big corporations and these big governments, people who have countless power over us, or way more power to affect the change than we do? What are they doing? Because there was a lot happening in the world, and that has a lot to do with the relationship between Saturn and Pluto, which also had a conjunction in 2019. 2019? No, 2020. 2020. Anyway, so Pluto is not opposite this full moon, but it's close. It is opposite Lilith, and that's another point of consideration, and we'll do another video about this, but Lilith is in the anaretic degree of Cancer, and she is finishing up her transit in Cancer. I talked actually a lot about this with the members, so if you want to know more, you can check that out. But she's in Cancer, which is like the, I would say in the last 10 months while Lilith was in Cancer, it's emotionally messy transit. Lilith in Cancer, not Cancer as a sign, and it's been just emotionally convoluted. That's what I will say. Lilith sort of perverts whatever sign she's in. And so the sense of the perversion in terms of Cancer is this sort of muddying up the waters sort of energy. So I think a lot of people are very tired emotionally at this point. Whatever circumstances you've been around, it's been just nasty. Like, I would say nasty. And so Lilith moving into Leo, I think, is a bit of a relief. However, Lilith in Leo is going to be a whole other gong show. We'll talk about it separately. It's going to be much more explosive, much more confrontational, but it is going to be a break on the heavy emotional gaslighting that's been going on with Lilith in Cancer. And so the reason I was mentioning Lilith is that Pluto and Lilith are in opposition. As Lilith is in the anaretic degree of Cancer, Pluto is overlooking the moon in the second degree, the second decan that it rules. And so therefore there is that sort of, the meanness has reached a crescendo. And this is where I want to bring in Chiron a bit here, because this full moon is actually at a square to Chiron. And so it's a loose square and it's separating, which means that it's less direct and less intense than some of the other things. However, the days before, or even hours before, circumstances, I would say 24 to 48 hours before the full moon, so from the time of filming on, there could really potentially be some hurtful or difficult situations that have come up, or difficult reflections that you are having on life, like really things that are making you feel like you've been through it. With Lilith in Cancer at the 29th degree, you may feel like the last 10 months have been just a big weight for you emotionally. And so at this time, the combination of all these transits may be making you feel particularly not harmed, but particularly weighed down, or like you've been saturated with this negativity. So it's almost over. Lilith moves into Leo on the 8th. So it is another change. Lilith is not necessarily favorable in any sign. There's like a perversion of any sign she enters, but that emotional nagging is going to be sort of changing its pace. Okay, so Pluto opposite Lilith in some way is making it more forceful, more intense on its way out, plus the fact that Lilith is at the 29th degree is also influencing this, and that is influencing the moon. So you could be feeling like, you know, just really like there's a lot going on. There's a couple other transits that are just directly on the moon. There is a trine between the Sun and Uranus that's separating, and there is a moon that's also separating a sextile to Uranus. So I know that I mentioned that Uranus also sort of plays into everything, so maybe this is a good time to explain it. Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. So when we're saying that Saturn is sort of overlooking everything in the chart, Uranus is the secondary sort of energy that's out there. So a new solution, a new resolution, a new idea comes out. Now, with Uranus there in Taurus, it is in its fall, so it's weakened Uranus. Uranus does not like Taurus. I like Uranus in Taurus, but Uranus doesn't like Uranus in Taurus. And so therefore it's weakened. There's a mutual reception, which is Venus is in Aquarius, and we'll see more about Venus next. But since we're talking about it, let's introduce that. Venus is in Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus in the modern system, and Uranus is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. It's a mutual reception. However, in traditional astrology, but I've read it somewhere that when a planet is in the fall, that mutual reception is not necessarily as strong, or it breaks. There's some discussion about it. It's not a very clear line that people stick to. So they are in each other's sign, but since Uranus is in its fall, it may be breaking that mutual reception because it's weaker. And what that actually means is that there's a very particular connection of influence between Venus and Uranus, which I actually like. So let's consider it. It's actually bringing compassion, love, and understanding to the current energies. And Uranus, of course, is bringing ingenuity and new ways of seeing things. So with this moon and maybe some possibly difficult emotional situations that are around you, Uranus and Venus and all the aspects I'm about to show you guys are actually influencing it to be a bit more like novel, like you can find your solution through it, figure out a way. So let's do a quick survey of what's going on. If you're a member, you can watch the members only video to find out more in detail, okay? Okay, so we have Venus in a sextile to Jupiter. This is particularly strong on January 4th, I want to say January 4th through the 3rd. And so again, like I said, there's a mutual reception with Uranus here, but both of them refer back to Saturn, as we said in the intro. So it's all, when I see Uranus, Jupiter and Venus in a sextile in an air and fire sign, and Saturn in Aquarius overlooking that whole energy, it really speaks to me of improving relationships. So on the 3rd, 4th, conversations and improvement of relationships, figuring out with people what's going on, particularly if you have something that's happening that is a challenge for you and your partner. This is a really good energy to figure out whatever kind of obstacles are between you. Now on the 4th, the day that I'm filming, the moon will actually trine Saturn, which is also very helpful to all the energy of confusion and all the things that we might have started the year off with. Remember, there's these powerful energies that may be causing confusion, or very intense energies may be thrown at us from people and circumstances. And so as the moon is in Gemini, so this is a chart for the 6th, but imagine the moon here in Gemini, it forms a trine to Saturn, and then you become sort of aware of what's going on or how you need to handle things. So you become aware of your environment, and you get a very good opportunity there to have a notion of what to do and how to handle things, okay? Then we have, again, this is referring back, the next transit to consider, and do try to remember all of these or watch this a couple times to kind of consider it. These are all positive transits that sort of are working together to counteract these sore spots like Chiron in Aries and the moon in Cancer and Lilith at the 29th degree. So we might be emotionally tired, but there's a way through, and I'm trying to show you what that is. So in late December, Jupiter was transiting into Aries and continued to right now in early January. Pluto and Jupiter are actually in aspect in a sextile. And so they both are referring back to Saturn. And so Pluto and Jupiter are definitely speaking to how things are organized, power structures around us, imbalance of power between ourselves and others. And so through a sextile, which doesn't happen often, this is only going to happen, the next time it's going to happen is like 8 years from now. It's going to be a long time, maybe even longer. So it's going to be a while until the next time this specific angle happens. It'll be like 13 years, 14 years before the next one. But this one is actually helpful because it allows you to find some solutions, particularly in confusing situations. So if you're coming into this year confused and battered and, dismayed particularly, this is a really good sextile, and it's still on us, and in 14 years Saturn will not be in Aquarius, so this is really of the moment transit. It will not repeat again. And then on the 6th we have our full moon, right? And as the full moon happens, the moon creates a sextile to Uranus, and Uranus creates a trine to the sun. This is probably my favorite angle of this full moon. And it's, again, finding a solution to something that hurt us, that makes us feel not well, as Lilith is transiting into Leo. Now, Lilith transits into Leo on the 8th. We've already talked about Lilith, so let's leave it at that. But I think it's very important to understand that we're finding solutions alongside this full moon to that, all of this context. So you might be feeling the way you're feeling, and the moon might be giving you some solutions or resolutions. Uranus with the North Node has been powerful since August 1st of 2022, and even before that. But in that moment when Mars and Uranus and North Node joined, I don't know if you guys saw it. I told you it was sort of behind the scenes, but things started moving in positive directions, and I think they're still moving in positive directions. Things such as things getting figured out, things getting addressed, wrongs being rewritten. There's a lot of shift happening at this time, and Uranus with the North Node is the reason. Now, if that's in the global sphere, politics, whatever, then sure. But I think in your personal life, I hope that you're finding avenues through which to get through some of those toughest problems, okay? Okay, so we have this full moon, and then Mars will create a trine to Venus on the 9th, which is just a couple days after that. And so that's exciting because remember, Venus creates a sextile to Jupiter, and then right after a trine to Mars, Mars and Venus are on a very narrow cycle. So these are quite common events, but I still think that it's a nice time. And again, Saturn is overlooking the whole interaction, the whole energy flow, and so therefore, again, relationships get a boost to figuring out who goes where and who does what. And it's all air signs, so it's all reason, all logic. I really like this. If you have lots of air sign transits or placements, you're in your element, and this is the time for you to do those things. I know Mars is retrograde and Mercury is retrograde, but this is a really good time to figure things out for yourself. Okay. So up until the full moon, up until the 9th of January, energy, you can hopefully see the balance of sort of emotionally messy energy that has weighed us down, but with solutions and with aspects that are extremely favorable and uplifting. And so you should be finding solutions through this time to whatever is troubling you, particularly in relationships. But then on January 9th or so, right after that Mars and Venus trine, or a little bit, it'll overlap a little bit, so it'll start kind of getting soured. We're going to have a series of transits that are going to be frustrating. So you find your solution with all this Uranian influence, and then but on the 9th, the moon will create a square to Uranus, and suddenly you'll be like, I don't know if this will cut it. I don't know if this will be the solution. Don't worry, there's a happy outcome. And then on the 10th, the moon will square Mars in Virgo. So again, feelings of doubt, feelings of not being sure if what we've come to realize through the full moon is going to be as great as we want it to be. And then on the 11th, Mercury moves into a square with Chiron. And then again, that whole issue of who we are starts creeping up. And did we say the wrong thing in the wrong situation? Whatever. You start doubting yourself again. It's all a part of the process. So you should be getting some kind of progress in your circumstances and then fall back. And then on the 12th, Mars will go direct, and that's when you will start to feel momentum again. So you should be getting pretty excited through this full moon about some solution, and then have a few days of doubt on the 9th through the 12th, and on the 12th it should start building momentum again. So that's all I wanted to say. It's kind of detailed, but I wanted you to see it so you could visualize it for yourself, so that when the feelings come up, when the different ideas come up, you know, it helps you that way. So if you guys don't mind, we're going to do the all sign part of the video now. And so if you want more information on what I just talked about, I did a longer explanation, more in-depth explanation. It's literally the same sort of skeletal structure of this one, but with maybe slightly different insights and different examples. So maybe it'll help you kind of work through that if you're interested. That is in the description for members, and it's all members. So I have 2 tiers, so no matter what membership you have, you can watch it. So let's begin for the all signs. So we'll start with Taurus, which I think is like the secret, how do you say, MVP of the energy right now. So hi Taurus, welcome. And so Taurus is having a pretty big year, and I'm pretty excited to tell Taurus sun, moon, and rising about it. Okay, so we have awakening. Yeah, it feels like this is the last judgment ruled by Pluto, the awakening. There's some kind of a breakthrough for Taurus. There's some kind of finally, after a long kind of drawn out set of circumstances, things are picking up. With the North Node in Taurus, it's already been happening, but I think in 2023 you're going to get that a lot. So we have the Hanged Man in reverse. I'll turn it up, but it does suggest that there's some, oh, you know what? It was naturally in reverse, so I'm going to honor that. So you think that there's going to be a delay with something, but it's not. It's time to go. Some of you are going to be pulling out of situations, Taurus. Some of you are going to be choosing to cut the cord, to go somewhere else. Look at how assertive you're going to be feeling now. Saturn has really dampened your energy for the last 4 years. And now as it starts moving off into Pisces by March, you're going to be feeling more and more assertive. So there may be things that you've been waiting on that haven't been ready to be addressed, and I think now you're getting more comfortable to make a decision on some things. And then we have the Temperance card, and we have the 3 of Torches, 3 of big hopes and big dreams for the future. And that makes sense because the Sun and Mercury are in the 9th house. This really seems to me as though you're revisiting some things that you really want, Taurus. And I think you're looking at your life and saying, it's not happening the way that I want it to be. And with these transits, you might be really feeling adventuresome and excited. It's like you've woken up. And so there's a lot of personal things that you're continuing to let go of. And finally, I think that like you're really taking some steps towards a more adventuresome decision. So I can see Tauruses really take some big bold steps. And so I think it's time for you to sort of, you know, move forward. Now the full moon's in your 3rd house, so it's something close to home. It's something close in your neighborhood that you are, you know, relinquishing. So something, you're letting go of something near towards a big desire, a big vision. Okay, so you're awakening towards, you know, your desire. And so it's interesting that the Hanged Man came up in the reverse, which is usually signifying that there's no delay. So you're really up to something in the best possible way. Okay, so we have Taurus first. Next we have Virgo. Hey Virgo, you guys were last in the members only. Oh, that was not, sorry, wrong day. I did a members only all sign the other day and you were last. I used these same cards, so it threw me. Okay, so Virgos, these are the Braille-Tillet I didn't really introduce in the future. I just wanted to pick a card for everybody first because I find them so interesting. So we have closing, number 67, closing some stuff along the way. Oh, Jupiter's in your 8th house. It's a good year for closure. Or especially the first part of the year. So soft landing with Jupiter when you have Jupiter in the 8th house. If something's closing in your life, Virgo, it's for a good reason and very lucky. 9 of Swords, Mars in Gemini, Mars in, retrograde in Gemini. Then we have the 3 of Torches. So it looks as though you've been stabbed in the back, or you feel as though you've been betrayed and you're looking forward to a better future. Again, you have the North Node in Uranus. Not much can come across your way at this time, Virgo, and you will not feel like you'll take it in a good direction. You'll know what to do with it. And then we have the 7 of Pentacles. You have some long-term plans, savings, and a big decision, the Last Judgment. There's definitely very similar energy to Taurus. Now, Mercury retrograde is in the Earth signs this year. So we have Mercury retrograde in Capricorn right now. Next will be Taurus, and then will be Virgo. So there's a strong connection to like cycles and rhythms for people to do with Mercury retrograde as well. And so therefore I'm not surprised that you're coming to conclusion about things. But in terms of this full moon, it's in your 11th house, right? So there could be friends that have betrayed you. There could be a broken heart, and there could be a decision to move forward. One of the things about Virgo that happens that I would say is a challenge for your sign is that you sympathize. So once somebody's in with a Virgo, they trust you and can be very accommodating and forgiving. And sometimes that can turn toxic if you're forgiving the wrong person for the wrong thing too much, and they've earned your trust, they're your friend, whatever. And then you realize that, you've allowed the wrong person to have your enabling bad behavior. But with this Uranus and the North Node in your 9th house, I think that whatever's come up in your life, Virgo, whatever's getting in the way, it's really time to look forward. And so Virgos, what I was going to say is Virgos end up in sometimes relationships that don't serve them for a longer period of time. And then it's always the lesson of, hey, I'm better off doing my own thing over here than in this bad situation. Not that all situations for Virgo are bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just that Virgos accommodate the wrong situations too long, and then they're always reminded, like, I should actually be over here doing something else. So that decision is coming. It does look like you have everything that you need to move forward, which is the 7 of Pentacles. It doesn't seem as though you're moving from a strong foundation. And when I said about closing, I just want to point this out. Jupiter in the 8th house is really suggesting a good year for change. So if you've been recently hurt, Virgo, this is betrayal of trust. This is betrayal of friendship. And it's in your 10th house, so it could be very public. It's time for you to look forward and look in a different direction. Stop making excuses for people and start moving in this new direction. Okay? So that sounds very, very good, Virgo. And now we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye. Okay, so next we have Sagittarius. Hey, Sagittarius, welcome to my channel. Let's take a look at your astrology for this full moon. Let's see what kind of information you have. So the full moon is in your 8th house. So I don't know if you have any Virgo placements, but Virgo just had a big message about closure and endings. And you have a full moon of endings with the full moon in Cancer. And your card is Time, which is closely 100. Card 100 isn't associated with Saturn necessarily. These cards are not associated with anything. However, Saturn is Chronos, the Lord of Time, the Time Lord, and so therefore this is very timely. time. Okay, and so Saturn is actually in your 3rd house. Something is definitely coming in for an ending. With the 3rd house, it feels close to home. It feels like not in your public spaces, but in your neighborhood, something's changing. A neighbor could be moving, or somebody else is moving near. A roommate could be changing. There's some kind of change for Sag that's coming in very, very strong. Now, let's consider this. First, I want to do tarot cards and then talk about the astrology so I can refer to the tarot cards once we have them down. So we have the Three of Torches. I think all three signs now have come up with this card. We have the Star, Aquarius, sorry. Hold on, let me see if I can make that. That star always gets us, okay? Hold on. The card of Aquarius, make it decent, okay. Okay, so next is the Death card, which is Scorpio energy, which is the South Node in your 12th house. The 12th house South Node transit can be very challenging. And then we have Seven of Pentacles coming up again. So again, everything is ready and organized. Remember, it's very Saturnian energy. Ready to move forward, ready for a new path, ready for a new direction. Something very fated is happening around you, which means that it's like beyond like just decision making, like whatever's happening is meant to happen. And Death card suggests some pretty big change. The Death card is Scorpio in your 12th house, the South Node. It really suggests that there's a level of karmic influence, huge life theme influence that is upon you now, and the change that you're making is towards continuing your stability, continuing your strength. I think that there's something that you aspire towards that you've decided that you want to achieve moving forward, but that has to do with letting go of some things. And in the 12th house, this is personal things that are close to you that you have to let go of. It's almost like a way of perceiving that you have to change or modify in order to move forward, in order to have the goal that you have set out for yourself. Now, I have a feeling that you too, Sagittarius, have been disappointed more by romantic interests. There may have been disappointment and it's time to move on. So I wouldn't be surprised if some Sages out there are breaking up with non-serious relationships. With Mars retrograde in your 7th house, there may have been fighting and all these kinds of things over the last couple months. And I can see when I look at these, particularly these two figures kind of looking off into the distance, it's like somebody knows they have to leave a situation. And with the 8th house, they just know they have to leave a situation. It's been particularly bad because Lilith has been in the 8th house, which is mean things that are pushing for an end to a situation. And so if you don't want to break up with someone, if you want to hold on, hold on and continue, remember Lilith will move into Leo on the 8th, and that can change things. So if you actually if you feel like death is chasing you, the ending is chasing you, but you really want to continue, things may actually improve. On the 12th, Mars goes direct. On the 8th, Lilith leaves your 8th house. So there is potential for improvement, and Jupiter is in the 5th house. So you might be it might be time, right? It might be you need a little bit of time, literally a couple days, and things can start looking better. I'm going to try to hide that card. I have to put a sticker on that or something to YouTubeify it. Okay, so here is the next message. We have Aries. Hi, Aries. Welcome to my channel. Let's take a look at your astrology for the full moon in Cancer. Okay. So, and it was the South Node that I had brought up. I wanted to pull a Braille for every single sign. So let's do it first for you. We have useful energy and time. Useful energy. Well, the sun is in your 10th house. Remember, you had that very strong set of transits for many years. And so this is the time when you have the opportunity to revisit that energy again. Here is your card. We have the Empress. Okay. which is Venus. And Venus, as we know from the intro, is very important. There's a lot of nurturing energy. Ace of Cups. I like this. New relationships. Now, I didn't mention this in the intro, nor did I mention this in the members only, but it comes to mind when I see your chart here, is that it feels as though because I remember talking to you about the Capricorn stellium, with this Mercury retrograde, that is referring to, 2019 through 2020, when we had the South Node there and we had so many eclipses there and lots of transits through Capricorn. And I wonder if in some way this retrograde cycle is not healing or setting things right from that time, that period in time. And look, you have the sun. See, this is YouTube friendly with like covering up the... Anyway, and then we have the Five of Cups. Okay, so you need to take care of your feelings in the situation. Chiron in the first house, which it is in your chart in the first house, is a pretty tough transit to have because it sort of brings the focus to the self, like doubles up that self lens. And so when I look at this, I really feel that as much as you can, try to deal with the fallout of whatever happened in your career, in your public life, because it's really slowing you down. Not that I'm saying you should get over it or something like this. Not at all. But I feel like there's real opportunity here. Empress, the Sun, Ace of Cups, new beginnings, and here you are sad. And maybe it's justified, and maybe there's reason. But I think that with Uranus here and these transits here, you have some really good energy to move forward. Now the moon, the full moon, is in your fourth house, which is family and home. And so maybe there is a family situation that is bringing you down, that is really heavy for you and difficult for you to navigate. But I think that the possibilities of new things is actually in your favor. So, reach out to the world. I'm not telling you to let go of the real feelings that you're going through and the real things that are challenging you at this time, but just look to the sun in your 10th house. Mercury will go direct in the 10th house on the 18th. Venus is in the 11th house. That can really improve relationships. And so that's creating that sextile to Jupiter. There's a lot of interaction close to home, in your public space, that can really help your relationships at this time. And then also with the South Node in the 8th house, just a reminder that you're going through a longer pattern of coming to terms with endings. And so from the past, not necessarily from now. So again, another layer of closure, another stage in healing. And so you want to get through that healing as fast as you can, so that you can rise up above it and move past it. Okay, so next sign, let's see, we have Aquarius. Hey Aquarians, I feel like I need to do a dedicated Aquarius video. I need a whole channel for Aquarius dedicated videos this year. So definitely the sign that is going to be on everybody's lips. You're probably already noticing it. For all the things, I have so much on my mind for Aquarians. So there's just it for all of you guys who are waiting for a reading for Aquarian, just wait. So there is how do we say, let's pick a card. So we have Danger, number 38. Okay, this is, how do we start this? 2023 finds you at the beginning in a low point. Okay, so if you feel like crap, 2023 is supposed to feel weird. This is the one time in your life. There are other low points in your life for other reasons, like this will happen for us all. But this particular set of transits is going to be quite difficult. But the positive is that it's over and it's up now. It's still going to be in the valley. You're still in the valley, but you're going up now. So if you find the beginning of this energy of this year, if you're already like everything's messed up and so many things just went sour, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And all the energies in Aquarius are at their very, very lowest. So we have the Two of Pentacles. Somebody betrayed you. Nine of Swords is Mars in Gemini. Mars is in Gemini in the 5th house. It could be a lover, could be a boyfriend, girlfriend. It could be a friend, someone who your kid could have betrayed you. Mars retrograde hurt, and then you have to figure out what you're going to do with it. This is a nice little parallel. So we have the Two of Pentacles in this card, but look, don't spend too much time deliberating. Can you see the gold lining? Also the infinity symbol, the figure 8. So it's like the Two of Pentacles is about figuring things out, like balancing things out. Where do you stand on things? Ask yourself, Aquarius. And then we have King of Torches, King of Wands, Sagittarius or Aries, very fiery energy, which is good because Jupiter is in Aries. We like this as Aquarians. And then we have the Eight of Cups. Okay, here's one take on what's going on. Three of Cups. So you were celebrating with someone. First of all, I'm guessing most people didn't tell you that you're at a low this year. And there's many reasons for it. I'll do dedicated videos. Saturn is one of them. Saturn, it's productive, it's good, but it's hard. And at this stage, as it's about to transit into Pisces, you've had enough. Good news, it won't be back for 29 years. So here's my first take of what I saw, and this isn't for everyone. There could be a situation with someone who hurt your feelings. They want to make it up with you, but you're sort of toying with that a bit, your pros and cons. And I think that if you wait too long, this person is going to lose interest in reconciliation. So I'm just saying, you do with that what you will, but that's the first thing that you're sort of thinking about other things, distracted, or possibly just trying to figure things out. This person seems at first remorseful, conciliatory, wants to figure things out. But then you have this Eight of Cups, and it's like, well, why bother? Eight of Cups, Saturn in Pisces. So why bother? Like, why bother? Okay. So yes. Why bother? And so don't waste too much time in waiting. That's the other thing that I got right away when I saw this Nine of Swords is you got betrayed. And I wouldn't be surprised by Saturn. Like you would be feeling at this time a lot of criticism and a lot of interesting energy. I've lived through Pluto over my ascendant. When I was very young, I was 13 when it went over my ascendant. So I know it very well. You know, it's not necessarily the easiest transition. Once it's in your first house, you're gonna do fine. I think that Aquarians, I'm gonna be celebrating with you. Through this time, it can be confusing as Pluto is still in your 12th house. In fact, the last several years since it's been in Capricorn, since 2009, it has possibly been very difficult at times and heavy. So the thing with Pluto with such a long transit is that it sits there for so long that you sort of forget what was life like without it in that aspect. But I think this is gonna be very peppy when it goes into your first house. I think you guys are gonna go like next level. It's like Aquarius 3.0 is about to start. You know, it's gonna be pretty intense. And so it's been intense. It's a bit harsh. The moon is actually in your 6th house. It's like, I just feel like you're weighed down and weighed down by daily things. Little things add up. I would say when I see your chart, it feels like little things add up. people are pretty shitty maybe near you. But Jupiter is coming in. You'll find new friends. You'll find new people that will bring light. And your birthday's coming. And you're in the valley. I just feel like overall, and you have to purge some things in the outside world with the South Node through your 10th house. So overall, your energy's at a low. But I'm not being pessimistic. This is optimism. Because it's actually, you're going up now. So this is really good news. And then maybe some changes will be very favorable around the home or with the home. I would say don't get caught up with back and forth with people. If they're going to go, they're going to go. If this person matters a lot to you, do not be wishy-washy with it. Be more self-directed. What's the lesson that you learned when Saturn was in the first house over the last 2 years? Do you have like a big life lesson that you've come to realize? Whatever lesson you've come to realize with Saturn and Aquarius, apply it to this situation. I think you feel betrayed by people, but that's not going to last for long. And in fact, that's like a part of the problem. Lilith has been in your 6th house. Lilith is moving into your 7th house, though. You don't want to come in at things feeling beat down or broken, or you want to deal with that as much as possible. Now, I'm not like victim blamer at all. So if you're hurt, if you're been victimized, you know, I'm sorry. But just deal with this as best you can at this time and try to shield yourself from being positioned in like a lower way compared to others. So if somebody has brought you down, leveled you, be negative, be resilient to that as best you can and bide your time. A lot is changing for you. It's all behind the surface. And with this full moon, don't let it break you. Don't let it discourage you from the way forward. And don't be wishy-washy because of how things have been. Okay? Sorry about the truck. Okay. So that's Aquarius. Let's see the next sign. I got into that one. I was like very sympathetic. Hi, Scorpio. Let's take a look at your astrology and Brautele and tarot. So, Scorpio, you have a big full moon in the 9th house. I think you're coming into realization about circumstances and people. You're going to have a big eureka moment with this full moon. It might come from not necessarily from negative perceptions that you've had. Many of you are very restless with your current in space and environment. Your immediate area, wherever that is, or whatever that is, your current lair is feeling uncomfortable. And again, with this full moon, remember in the intro when I told you guys that after the full moon, there's going to be this energy of like obstacles will come up because the moon will form all these harsh squares to like Uranus and Mars, and opposition to Saturn. I forgot to mention that, but anyway, I digress. Anyway, it's going to, and Mercury Chiron square. So there's going to be a few days there right after the full moon until the Mars direct, in which suddenly you will feel even more you'll feel better and then feel discouraged. And I think through that time, you're dreaming, you want to go somewhere else. It just doesn't feel good. I think Scorpio is one of the big lessons that for Scorpio or awareness points is like, one of the big awareness points for Scorpio is like when something's unhealthy for us, if we continue in it, then we become the scorpion, right? So it's like, watch your environment, watch what you're taking in, those kinds of things. 10 of Swords, see, you're done with something. 10 of Swords, Sun in Gemini. That won't be for a few more months. I can't wait for summer. The days are getting longer, folks, in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, so Prince of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, some new emotion. Prince of Pentacles, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, in the 3rd house. I feel like for some of you, there could have been conflict over money with someone. High Priestess, like somebody didn't return your money, or somebody borrowed money and didn't return it. There could be a disagreement, and both people are petty and both people are immature, because Pages. And I think that there's some very powerful insights. This full moon for you is self-awareness about where you want to go. And I don't try to tell people like where to go and what to do. But when I see something like this, I'll just tell you, this is a time in which you could be very highly aligned to what you truly want and the direction that you truly want. So suddenly you could be really feeling, putting things in perspective and being like, I actually really want this to happen in my life. I really want to go travel here, or I really want to do this. You're seeing things clearly, and take note of that. This is a great time for you to pay attention to this, okay? So pay attention. Pay attention. And it could come from, I don't feel as though there's a conflict in the sense that you've argued with someone. The 10 of Swords is pretty much like seeing something for what it is and deriving from that closure to a situation, because you know what it's about, and it influences you. Okay, so next we have Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Hey Capricorn, let's take a look at your astrology. So Capricorn, let's take a look at the Brow Tele. Sun, Moon, and Rising. So you have Justice, Truth, which is Libra. Okay, Justice, Truth, which is Libra. And then, let's see. I'm just looking at your chart. 7th house, Lilith in the 7th house being cleared out with this full moon. Okay, so we have the 10 of Torches, which is heavy burdens. 4 of Pentacles, you have heavy burdens and you're not opening up towards something. And then 2 of Pentacles, you don't feel like you're ready for something, then don't do it yet. 2 of Swords. 2 of Swords is Moon in Libra. And so this is all about, this is really clearly saying that this is still a time for you to contemplate, and it's a time for you to consider and balance out the options. I feel as though there's some inner work that needs to be done, inner healing or thought about a situation. An idea needs to develop, an idea needs to grow, and so you need to sit with something. You need to bring awareness. Chiron, you can't see this, but over my viewfinder, my cursor was right over Chiron in the 4th house. And remember, Chiron is sort of the foundation of this full moon. It's the negative instances or experiences that we've had in the recent while that are forming us to have the feelings that we have in our circumstances. And so you've had the feelings you've had. It may be referring like very deep, some type of very deep-seated hurt. And I think you're working through something very deep, Capricorn. I think that there's something that definitely not ready for, it's just, you feel still like you're still in your feelings about it, how people say this. In your feelings kind of can mean that your feelings are distorted still. And with Lilith having gone through your 7th house, right, there could have been a lot of tumultuous things close to home. So maybe your relationship has been very, very challenging. Or maybe like the person who you trust so much, there may be a lot of confusion around that situation. And so it just really feels as though right now you're very reactive or emotionally unhinged. And so it's because it's so fresh. It needs time. It very clearly says something needs time. With Saturn in your 2nd house still, you just want to in some way pace yourself. By March, things will improve, but for now, you're still dealing with restrictions. I talked about this in a recent video for members. Restrictions, and that's clearing out in March. And if I talked about something for members only, and you can't be a member, or you just don't want to, whatever, I'll probably mention the most important things for everyone as well, for everyone else, but it's just a way to balance everything else. So this full moon I would say, looking at the chart as it is now, and I was trying to see how far, I'm about halfway through in terms of the signs at this point. When I look at the chart, this is the first chart where it says, South Node, it's wait until that 12th or the 18th. Figure out your feelings. Your feelings concerning a matter involve deeper things that are weighing you down than what's on the surface level, okay? And that's the truth. That's the justice, right? That there's something deeper in there that's bothering you. And you will not be able to make a clear decision on things until you look deeper. Okay. So we have Pisces next, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's take a look at Pisces. Sun, Moon, and Rising. Okay. Hi, Pisces. So which reading? Oh, it was the members only reading for Pisces. I was like, oh, I got weird again. With Pisces, my readings always very often become very like Piscean. Okay, so we have danger. Virgo got this. So I'm a Virgo, you're a Pisces. We're on the same continuum. So was it Virgo? Maybe not. Maybe it was danger, wait, or something. Okay, so why don't we pick 4 cards? Oh, it was Sagittarius. There's a danger in waiting for something too long. Anyway, this is a different message, a different download. So we'll see. Leo and strength. We have so much to say about Leo this year. I think Leo and Aquarius, I have so much to say about both signs. There's so much going on there. So strength is Leo, and 2 of Pentacles. Personal strength. A lot of people are getting 2 of Pentacles, which sort of makes sense given the astrology, because we're all like figuring things out. And then we have 9 of Swords, which makes sense because Mars is in Gemini. That's a huge energy of, abruptness. And Queen of Swords. So, okay, you know what? I'll say this. Pisces. You're sitting there and somebody is being wretched. I'll just say this. You're sitting there and somebody is being cruel and wretched. Queen of Swords energy. You're the emotional one. This may be at you or this may be somebody else. You hate it. You hate seeing it. And you just cannot stand it at all. And for whatever reason, you cannot interrupt, or what's happening is happening on its own. In fact, the last time I got this, I got the same combination in the same position. And it was two of Pentacles, which kind of has that infinity symbol. And then we have this card, which is danger. And then there's an infinity symbol as well. This is very different reading from the first time it showed up. To me, this really is saying that you're sitting there and watching someone be incredibly reckless. You're watching someone be cruel or mean. It might be happening to you where you're getting bullied. And it feels very uncomfortable. I can very clearly pick up on the fact that this feels unwell. Like somebody, it has that psychopathic energy. Somebody, mean girl, like without any restraint, cruelty. Now this full moon is in your 5th house and Lilith is moving into the 6th house. I have to tell you, be quiet through this situation. I said this in the intro in astrology. I forget which one, if I said this for members or you guys, but this is really relevant for you. I think I said this for members. Lilith in Leo, Lilith beginning is transit in a new sign, you really want to be careful with how you get into it. And here it's you're the sign that has the most contentious energy here. And Lilith is a 10-month transit. It's really, I would say, be very careful. I'm not saying something will happen, but be very, very careful with this Queen of Swords and Nine of Swords. It's almost like you may be able to address it later in a different way, but there's still a lot ahead. And so you don't want to preemptively react and create a continual escalation. So this is really actually saying, sit in your strength. You're in the strong position. That's why this person's being wretched. Or for some of you, you're watching this person be that way to someone else. I sense you're very protective towards someone, or even if it's you, then you know it's very wrong, or it's really a wrong situation. But with Lilith into the 6th house, particularly because it's Lilith into the 6th house, do not cross this person. Do not try to address it. Avoidance is a strategy that would do well here. I'm not saying everything forward is going to be bad, but if you want to greatly improve the next 10 months, be quiet for the next couple weeks. And maybe this, when people are like this, they often do mistakes, right? Queen of Swords with Nine of Swords. When somebody is actually like this, they often, that's how they catch criminals. Like that man in Ohio, right? Who they just caught. He had going for a PhD in criminology, and he has, somebody said, and I thought this was correct, obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which is different than OCD. And so it's kind of like a Machiavellianism and grandiose narcissism, which means that he thinks he's better than everyone else, and he knows obsessive compulsive, like he's compulsed on thinking that he can organize things better. And so this person, I thought that was a really astute observation somebody made on social media. I don't know this. This is alleged, and the person wasn't an expert, but I thought it was a smart take. And so people like that, so he unalived so many people, 4 people, I think. And like this person that was doing a PhD, I think that people like that get caught because they don't see themselves as, you get comfortable being a monster. Okay, that's how I'll say it. And so sometimes, like with a bear in the woods, you don't say, hey bear, you should not do this. Be nice. You basically do anything you can to stay out of its way. And if the bear is unhinged, or this person, sooner or later, they're going to get, this really feels like you want to stay, this person's going to self-destruct sooner or later, probably sooner than later, and you don't want to be a part of it. So I'm reassuring you that I don't know where their behavior will go. I sense that they're very dangerous. Maybe not like, I don't want to scare anyone with like, very dangerous, like, reasonably dangerous person, dangerous enough for it to be, but it could be emotional danger, all sorts of different dangerous. And so this person will, like, you don't want to get in the way of what that is all doing. Okay, Cancer. Speaking of dangerous circumstances, Cancer, I'm so sorry. I'm so happy for you because you've been in close on the edge of danger for so many years, since 2009. And this year with Lilith in your 1st house, the last 10 months, how are Cancers doing? And I don't mean that in a mean way, but I wonder like how you are doing, because it just feels as the new friends. Okay, here's your card. We have Teacher, which is the Hierophant. Taurus. New friends. Taurus. See? Cancer, I'm telling you. And I want you guys to tell me when you meet a Taurus or... Wow, look at that. Did you guys see what just happened? Okay, let me go slow. So I said, I'm like, new friends, because I saw Uranus with the North Node in Taurus in your 11th house. And then I pulled a card, and the card is the 5 Teacher. The first 21 cards in this deck correspond with the High Arcana. And so the 5th card in the High Arcana is Taurus, the Teacher, the Hierophant. Okay, so yeah, new friends, maybe a Taurus. It feels good. It feels like so much, and many of you will be in different stages of closure. With this full moon, this is a huge event because it's in your first house and it's your ruling planet. So this is a huge closure event. That doesn't mean that something is ending right now, but you're achieving a higher stage of closure with regard to some situation in a big way. I think that there's a strong message also about Chiron, 3 of Cups. And this isn't for all Cancers. Always take my messages. Some of them are for you. Some of them are for others. You know, you do want to watch for as many aspects in your chart as you can, like Sun, Moon, Rising. Because, or if you have a lot of transits in a different sign, because you'll find little messages in all of them, and then you can combine it to your message. But what I see really strong for Cancer, that Chiron is so important right now. Remember, it starts there and it sort of ends there. And so it ends on the Mercury square Chiron, right before Mercury turns direct. So that's what I was talking in the intro astrology. This to me, Cancer, seems as though very hurt feelings in terms of work. King of Pentacles. Look at this. Cancer's going to find love. King of Pentacles, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn. And then we have Princess of Cups. Look at this. This looks like love for Cancer. And with Jupiter entering into your 10th house. So let me backtrack a bit. This is a time when I was getting lots of downloads and I need to backtrack. King of Torches, Sag, Leo, or Aries. Chiron in the 10th house. When I'm looking at this and connecting to this, there's a real feeling of having been hurt at work. Again, not everyone, but some of you Cancers. Very indignant workplace environment, social environment. Your dignity has been disgraced by actions of others, or people have brought you down or hurt you in some way. Jupiter's entered. You're fine. There's going to be a reprieve of that. Somebody's coming in. Maybe it's this King of Wands. Somebody like a nice energy. But who's this King of Pentacles? I want to know, Cancer. And if you your relationships are not with kings, if they're with another gender. I don't really read these as gendered cards anymore. I always found them to be problematic, but if you don't like the masculine vibe at all, this could be like a feminine energy. It's up to you. But it just feels like a really warm embrace, Cancer. I really love seeing this. The sun is in your 7th house. The right people are putting out good energy to heal you where you need it. You are going through a large cycle of change and transformation with Saturn in the 8th house. So just abrupt sweeping of things out of the way. And Lilith in the 1st house, especially in this last anaretic degree opposite Pluto. This is like the high point of the intensity in terms of relationships. But what I'm seeing here is, you know, Teacher, Hierophant, kindness, celebration, hope, people giving you hope in new directions, and like just filling your cup. People you can rely on. All 3, I think this is you, but both of these people you can rely on. And look, we have the 3 of Cups, which is 3 figures drinking and or celebrating, and we have 3 people. So it's very likely that you're around to other people. There's a celebration of sorts, and there's like an embrace, good things, friends in new directions, the full moon. conclusion. You've been vindicated. There's a feeling of that. And so vindication, lift, buoyancy out of bad situations. Beautiful, Cancer. I love this for you. So good for you. That's what you deserve. And Pluto will leave Capricorn and then go back into it later this year, but then it'll be out of Capricorn this year, right? So we'll talk about this more. It's kind of like an anticlimax for Cancers, honestly. Except this part isn't. For some of you, you might be in the middle of things, but just be patient. It's literally a matter of weeks before it all figures itself out. So it's you know, in a time like this, if you need to make a decision, make it, but you just need to wait it out, okay? And then solutions will present themselves after. Okay, so Leo next. Hi, Leo. So Leo, I'm not sure if, like, I haven't been honestly watching too many other people's things. I haven't been online so much, a lot. And so I didn't want to inadvertently, you know, like pay attention. And so I just wanted to come in with my own energy, you know, unobstructed. I'll watch all your guys' stuff later, but I haven't. So I don't know, but my guess is that people haven't highlighted Leo for 2023. And I think that's a mistake. So I'm going to tell you guys about it later, but just know your energy is lit this year. And there are some difficult aspects like Lilith, but there's some kind of very important thing that's happening for Leo this year. Yes, positive. I feel it's positive, and I hesitate when I say that because Lilith will be in Leo and Venus is retrograde in Leo in the summer months. But beyond that, I think that you're coming into your kind of whatever you're doing in your life at this time, Leo, pay attention to it. There's something important there. Very, very positive. Let's pick some cards. I'll still talk about astrology. I'm trying to do like the cards first while I do the astrology. So we have Princess of Torches, Princess of Wands, Sag, Leo, or Aries, and the watery energy, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. Then we have the morning. This is specific to this. I just feel like I would say that this is high noon for you, not necessarily the morning, but this card is saying otherwise. So maybe a situation is beginning. 10 of Swords and 8 of Pentacles. Well, this is saying straight, save your money and buy your time. You're moving towards something new, and something new is beginning, but it's not. You're going to be in a much better position if you save your resources to apply to it at a later point in time. You're really stepping over something negative. This is Sun in Gemini, so it might refer to Gemini, but not necessarily. This is most likely something within yourself that has been holding you down or holding you back that you're transcending. Something's rising up out of you in a new path, but this is saying save money. You don't have many transits here, you know, right here in your second house. So hold on to your money so you can use it. Use it. That was hopefully not a Freudian slip. Sorry. Jupiter is at the top of your chart, North Node in the 10th house. So you don't lose it. That's what I mean. Hold on to your money so you don't lose it. But use it wisely and grow, okay? Use your money wisely and grow and expand and build, and the way forward is great. The full moon for you is in your 12th house. I like 12th house full moon, especially, and this happens for you yearly. The reason I really like this full moon for you in the 12th house is because it's going to put an end to some things that may not be so visible in your everyday life anymore, but are still holding you back, especially subconscious things. Especially, like, let's say if you were called certain names, or if you had a negative experience early on and you've held yourself back as a result of that negative experience, this is the time in which you move forward. So it really feels like a fresh start. I have a feeling that you feel somewhat distant or separate from other people, which is Chiron in the 9th house. And you're feeling very selective and in your power to pick and choose the types of people and situations that you want to be a part of. So you're being selective. Leo is a good Leo, because I don't know if you heard me talk about Virgo, but Leos definitely get this, that you accommodate people to the point of toxicity in which they draw away from your selfhood. And a part of your empowerment comes from reclaiming yourself and being like, I'm not in a situation where people are respecting me. You're being too generous with people, and people learn soon or later sometimes to walk all over you if they're the wrong people, and you don't pull them out of your life fast enough, and then you have to realize, like, oh shit, like, these are not good people. So, you know, this is a moment of awakening and this is your morning of saying, I'm going to take care of Leo now. So good for you, Leo. We'll talk about this a lot more. I'm super excited for your sign for this year. So Libra is next. I remember when we were doing readings for 2019 or 2020, I remember my reading. I mean, I have all of them saved, but it was so, like, I didn't want to read. I was like, I don't want to read this. This is like, I was getting like all darkness and like these things, and I was telling you guys about it, but I was like, no, I'm not liking this. I'm not liking this energy at all. And so yeah, what happened. And so it felt like there was no give for several years. There was literally so little give, so little, you know, just a dark time. And finally in 2023, it feels like there's a little bit of give, but we'll talk about that more later. So you have week in number 97. Let's expand on that. It's not giving a lot right now, but I feel like whatever you're up against, you may be feeling as though it's threatening, but it's much less threatening than you think it is. And so it's much more of a weak energy, right? We have the Six of Torches, victory, personal victory and success. So that's great. Mars is in your 9th house in retrograde, North Node in the 8th house. 10 of Swords showed up a lot for people. A lot of people are dead and done with situations. 5 of Cups. Well, I hope nobody's passed. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. 5 of Cups. And then we have the 3 of Cups. Well, it's very self-directed energy, isn't it? Not everybody's willing to celebrate with you in the way that you want to celebrate your victory. But you need to select and choose who's truly joyful for your success and bring them in. This is a time in which you're very much Queen of Swords energy, cutting through what is the weak connection. Who are the circumstances and the people that are not supportive of you, it's almost like they're crumbling away into nothing. And the outcome is success. And it feels as though there's people in the way of your true friends and your true allies. And I feel like through this full moon, you're really connecting with those people, which is the 10th house. So there's people or circumstances that are maybe just, you know how in movie sets, they make movie sets just to look like there's like a board behind it, like a house, but there's no house behind it. It's just like a big painted, piece of wood. This is you have a lot of relationships with people that it looks like a friend. It sounds sort of like a friend, but it's not really a friend. And so 10 of Swords with the 5 of Cups, you've come to realize some of this maybe. And the 3 of Cups is through in your success, they're not as happy for you, and that's helping you see where you stand with them. And it's those relationships simply just crumble away, and left behind are the genuine, good, solid friendships. So I'm very excited for you. And this is more it feels personal because Chiron is in your 7th house, but it's really happening more in your 10th house. So it's not necessarily just friends. It's like coworkers and like the good from the bad, right? Like those false fronts versus what's actually there. And there are definitely people actually there, and it's so easy for you to identify them because the selfish or the performative force is so, it just doesn't work out so explicitly. Like right away you realize this doesn't work for me, or these people don't work for me. It's so self-evident. There's no questioning here. Okay. Libra, happy new year, and we'll talk again. And then Gemini, last but not least. So Gemini, I feel like Gemini's in for some interesting things this year. Definitely now with Mars retrograde. You started off the year with probably some of the strongest energy, as Mars retrograde in your sign has been there, since August? All of the fall was this giant, sweep of this kind of energy. But it was constructive. In some ways, even though the spring last year had better transits, arguably, like these very special conjunctions, it's in the fall when things actually started turning in a positive direction, probably on the heels of those really beautiful transits in the spring, in the summer. Probably that conjunction with Mars and North Node and Uranus in your 12th house. It's more private, but I think people need to really focus on that more. I think it's bringing us more than we give it credit to. So you have number 17, glory, victory, 37, sorry. I'm like, oh, you got the star card. No, this is glory, victory. Also a good card of success. With Mars, it's like your timeline is the 12th of January. So pay attention to my astrology for the beginning of this for a more in-depth explanation, because that timeline right after that full moon that happens on the 6th, the 9th through the 12th or so, you're going to start questioning it. The moon's going to start feeling like hitting private spots. It's going to mess with your head. So 3 days, like, don't make a decision through that time to give up on something. 4 of Cups. With Mars retrograde in your first house, it's very substantive healing. Very, very substantive. We have the King of Pentacles again, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn. Not sure what to do. There's someone really good in front of you. 6 of Wands. Good energy. And then we have the 7 of Cups. You have a big question mark about someone. Definitely wait through this whole period to see it through. There's a lack of confidence in someone or a situation, and I never tell clients or people to go after something that they're not fully feeling comfortable about. So the fact that there's 7 of Cups and 4 of Cups there, it's like there's some really strong cards like the King of Pentacles and the 6 of Torches, success, but then there's like a big question mark. And why is the question mark there? Maybe because you went through a very like tumultuous period, 2019 through 2021, with all the transits in Capricorn, right? So maybe when these transits, Venus was just in Capricorn and Mercury's retrograde in Capricorn. So as these transits were happening here, maybe it's like reverberating, you know, like flashbacks to those past situations. And so give it time to figure out what's actually going on. It's very murky. And I did tell you that there's going to be murkiness, Chiron's in your 11th house. I know you've gone through quite a bit of friendship changes or ally changes, like who's who and what's what. And things are shifting and you want to be patient. The moon will be in Gemini on the today, right? Is it today? And it's creating it on the 4th and creating a trine to Saturn. Maybe today you're having some awareness, or look back to the 4th about what you want to do. I think that hope is coming, or good things are coming. It really feels like some person or some situation is really solid, but you need a little bit of time to figure out exactly if this is the victory you want. It feels like maybe there could be something very long term on the other side of it. So it needs to take time to develop. You need to take time to consider it. Okay? So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to make the energy real. I remembered. Okay. And we will talk soon. Members again in the description. Thank you for watching, and happy full moon and happy new year again. Take care. Bye.